Hello, my name is Amina and I'm your decision making specialist. And today, right here, is day 134. Yep, 134, which means today is July 29th, 2020. And wear your face mask. Even if you don't want to. How many other things do you do in the world that you think, oh man, I don't want to do that? I will. All right, give some thought to that part. You have a lot of influence about wearing that mask and the potential of who you might help not to get sick. Imagine who that might be. Write a story about them. Imagine not only the people that you know and that you're around, the people you don't know. Think about it. That's power. You can influence and help people you have never seen. Don't know their name. Don't know who they are. Don't know how they contribute in the world. And every time you see somebody around you wearing a mask, if you want to be bold in your circle, you might say, thank you for wearing your mask. I really appreciate it. Not like a pat on the head, a genuine thank you and an acknowledgement that we are all in this together. And we need other people to wear a mask to help keep us safe. So it seems only fair that we could wear one too. Think about it. All right, on this day 134, I have a question. What are you doing differently than you used to while you're in shelter? Think what it was like when you first began this journey. And however much you're out or you're in, think back to when you first started and they've announced, shut down, close the doors, let everybody know they're to be inside. They have limited access to the outside because the outside shut down too. Remember those days? Seems like a long time ago on one level, and oh my gosh, they're still here in another form. And what have you done differently? My clients, and I'm raising my hand, yesterday, this is embarrassing, I couldn't figure out what day it was. I was counting back, and I actually thought I had missed a call to one of my clients because I got the days mixed up again, and I lost a day. And that seems to be happening to a lot of people that I hear, that the days are just kind of blurring together. And they know yesterday and tomorrow. We're okay about that. The thing is that as to what the day of the week is, as to what the number is, even if in our business and in our careers and in our relationships, we know that it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. However, are there moments when you wake up and you think, what day is it? And if not, bravo. The rest of us, let me tell you, we're privately talking about how blurry things are getting. So I'm wondering, in the midst of the blur, what are things you can do that kind of separate and make this moment different from that moment so that they don't blur so much? So that you have little surprises when you write your story, and you'll be thinking about that story later and think, oh, wow, I forgot that moment. And that moment makes a difference in maybe your decision, and maybe in your legacy, and maybe it's just doing something different, to have fun, to mix it up for yourself, to provide variety in the midst of the uncertainty. And one example that one of my clients was talking about, and she loves mushrooms. Any size, shape, color, whatever, loves mushrooms. So she was telling me that she was getting kind of bored and then overwhelmed, and that just those things were just pulling at her in all different directions, and she was kind of getting tired of being inside, and especially since their area had pulled back and they were spending more time in shelter. So she went to an outdoor market and she bought all kinds of mushrooms. And then let me tell you the part that just added some variety for her and that just made her happy. She just experimented. So she took the mushrooms and she thought, how many different ways can I not cook, the ways that she can cut the mushrooms. So some of them, the ones that had caps, she would take off the stem. She would cut the stem in a certain shape or size. She would cut the cap in a certain shape or size. And then she started looking. And so then some she left the cap on and she sliced them with the cap and the stem. And then she remembered she had seen something on some cooking show that they had actually shredded the mushrooms. And so she took the mushrooms and she just pulled it down, and pulled it off. Maybe like you do a banana peel. And she just had little shreds of the mushrooms. And she just came up with so many different ways to do those mushrooms. And then she cooked them. And she cooked them individually. And each of them cooked a little differently. The ones that were the caps and the stems, she could saute them, keep them fairly soft. Or she could turn up the heat, let the oil get a little closer to the smoking point, and she could make them more crispy. And some she baked. And some she baked just until they were tender. And some she left in there a little bit longer till they got a little bit of more crispiness to them. Not a whole bunch, just a little bit. And then she took some that she had shredded. She put them in the skillet. Some of them she sauteed and they came out very soft and looked like strings of mushrooms. And then some of them she cranked it up and she cooked the torn shreds. They got crispy like little straws of mushrooms. And she just really had fun with that. One, she got to be creative. Two, she got to have something she was in charge and had some power with her mushrooms. They were her certainty for that moment. And she shifted her focus so she was not thinking anything about what was going on out there or in here about COVID-19 for just that bubble of time. She could have been anywhere any place without a virus. Plus, you got some really good ideas about mushrooms, and she was just delighted with sitting down. She sent me a text picture of her mushrooms on a platter, and she had, I think, slices of orange, something that she had used to stylize it, and she ate her way, not at one sitting, ate her way through that platter of mushrooms. And she said, it just felt so normal to me that I realized how much I had missed having some certainty in the middle of everything else going on. So I'm going to offer, if you like mushrooms and you want to do the mushrooms, fine. Just give an eyelash or two of cloud time and figure out, what would I like to try? I do different kinds of spices that I add to my cooking. So I have my chefy stuff that I focus on, and that gives me a sense of normalcy and certainty. Now I have another friend, and this friend used to be a client, and now he has moved on, and he works for a high-tech company. And since he's working at home, he actually has more time because he's not traveling to and from, which was like an hour commute, 2 hours counting both ways. And he has a daughter, and his daughter asked him, because he likes to do woodwork, asked him if he would design and make a table for her. They like to do jigsaw puzzles, and especially with they're in shelter. And he said, of course. And so he did. And he said it felt so normal to him that he too had realized he needed some certainty in the midst of everything else. And that's what he did. Another client lives in a condo, just a little small condo. Doesn't have a backyard. She's on the upstairs unit. She has a little small deck. So she got some pots, and she has some flowers. And in one of the pots, she planted 3 squash seeds. And the other day, she sent me a picture of her squash. They're like about that long now. And they're the yellow squash, which are her favorite. So she grew some of her own vegetables. And she said, watching them grow, watching the blossom come, and watching the creation of her squash, she said, you know, may sound silly, it gave me a sense of hope to watch something grow in the midst of all of this uncertainty. So those were just a few offerings. And I would offer one more thing, and that is that you say yes to whatever comes to you that would help you feel creative to influence this certain level of certainty in your life. All right, add some certainty to that story. It's your life. You have the power. All right, you also have the power to subscribe and come back tomorrow because I will be watching for you. If you want to tell me what your area, what your certainty is, write it down. Comment. Thanks a lot. Come back, as I said. And guess what? Thanks. Bye for now.